Yeah, hi, morning. It's Craig from Yesway Communications here in Lincoln, UK. Right, what should we talk about today? Okay, let's talk about this box. Right, now I showed this at my recent TEDx talk. Now, the reason I showed this was only part of the talk, is, and this isn't fully working yet. There's a couple of issues I need to sort out, one being satellite accessibility. I'm still working on that. Now, because the owner of the satellite, even though I keep subtly pestering him, hasn't responded to my requests. Because what this is, right, you've heard me before talk about low Earth orbit satellites, or LEO. Now, low Earth orbit satellites are less than 2,000 kilometers from the Earth's surface, and there's lots of them circling the Earth, so you've always got connectivity wherever you are. Now, this box, the idea is it can help bring cheap connectivity to communities, remote communities that don't have the internet at the moment. You might think everyone has the internet, but they don't. The ITU, which is the International Telecommunications Union, estimate that 2.6 billion, that's roughly a third of the population, world population, 2.6 billion people don't have the internet. So, well, there's a variety of reasons they don't have it. If you're in a remote location, it's not economic to put internet in there necessarily, because you've got to put in cell towers, which are those metal towers, the antennas you see around. You've got to put in the cabling or the links to make it work. So another way of doing it is using low Earth orbit satellites. So low Earth orbit satellites, as I say, there's lots of them circling the Earth. Starlink is an example. Starlink uses a ground terminal which you connect your device to, which is an option, but it increases the cost. But there's a new type of satellite, which I've talked about before, with a new type of low Earth orbit satellite, which can connect directly to your smartphone. So, if you can connect directly to your smartphone, you don't need a terminal unit. If you don't need a terminal unit, you keep the cost down. So what's this box got to do with anything? Well, imagine you're in a remote community in Africa. If we took a recycled smartphone, a donated smartphone, and I've talked about this before, lots of you have old smartphones lying around. We incorporated this box of a power supply. This goes on to top of a building, like a top of a community centre, a school, even a tree. It keeps the phone charged. The phone and this unit will have an improved antenna, because the phone being inside the box is going to what's known as attenuate the signal. It's going to get less of a signal, and you need to get all the signal you can to reach this satellite, which is directly connected to your smartphone. So we'll have a bit of an antenna on it. If you can hear an aeroplane, it's just one flown past. Phone in there, antenna on it, communicates with a satellite. Now, that, as you all know, those people that have got smartphones, you can tether to a smartphone. So therefore, we can then have that, and it can be providing Wi-Fi to local community. Now, yes, I know what you're going to say, but if they haven't got anything to connect to it, well, true. But who's got an old laptop they don't use lying around? I know I have. This old hardware, which is currently lying around in people's lofts or going to landfill, can be repurposed using open source software. Now, open source software is free community developed software. In fact, most of the internet servers that power the internet run off it. It's free to download. Examples are Ubuntu, which is a type of a distribution of the Linux operating system. Tech geeks aren't going to say it's not an operating system. But for the purposes here, it's an operating system. So you could replace, say, a Windows XP operating system on an old laptop with Ubuntu, which is a light version of Ubuntu. This being based on Linux, it's an operating system. You can then give that laptop a new lease of life. It can connect to your local community Wi-Fi, and inside there, it's basically powered by an old smartphone connecting to these direct to smartphone low Earth orbit satellites. It's a way of helping get those 2.6 billion people that aren't connected. I know it's not the only solution. Traditional ways of connecting to the internet are still valid, but it's keeping the costs down, guys. You know, a lot of these people in the developing world, well, not everyone. I mean, not everyone's not on the internet due to poverty. I mean, I've seen videos. I think it was actually Amazon's Project Kuiper, which is another initiative which is starting to take off. And on their promotional video, they were talking about United States, how there's communities that don't have the internet, and how they were going to address this. But I mean, so there's lots of different technologies. I mean, and Starlink, brilliant, yeah. I'm not knocking that at all. You've got your ground terminal and you can connect. So those communities in these rural United States areas where there's they maybe live in a really rural community and there's not connectivity, well, they could use that and they could have their terminal unit on the ground. But those really poor countries, really poor people, and remember, there's so much poverty in this world. There's so much wealth as well. It's don't get me started. Could we slightly make the poor richer? I don't think it's really going to affect the rich. But anyhow, let's not think about that for the moment. It's important. But so what I want you to understand about this idea is power supply, repurposed smartphone, receiving signals from satellite, refurbished laptops running open source software, which can be the operating system. It can also have word processing, which is compatible with paid products like Word. You can actually open a Word file on open source software. So rather than all this hardware sitting about doing nothing, if we can connect to these new direct to handset satellites, we can use something like this and provide cheap community Wi-Fi to communities. It's an idea. In my talk, I also talked about how we could help what UNESCO estimated in 2018 that 263 million children and youths aged between 6 and 17 not attending school. We could provide online learning direct to a mobile phone. So there's two things here, but I'm just focusing on the box now, so that if we can communicate direct with a mobile phone, we can provide online education. But by putting a modified phone in one of these boxes and putting them high in the community, we can tether recycled laptops to it. That's basically my TEDx talk in in a few seconds. Yeah. So that's basically what I wanted to say. I never have a script for these things. I just switch the camera on, see where we go with it. But that's basically it. Box, power supply, recycled phone, top of a building or a tree, remote location in a poor country, receive signal from a satellite, from the new type of satellites that can communicate directly with a mobile phone, and the second-hand phone, which we could donate, is in there. Second-hand computers, laptops, running open source software. Again, we're being more sustainable. We're taking obsolete equipment to give it a new life. We can connect to that. Tell me the problem. I'm happy to discuss this. I mean, I've had a few naysayers already on things like LinkedIn going, oh yeah, no, it's rubbish. This will be years, it won't work. And then you look at my answer normally, but I'm starting to think I haven't got time to keep replying to these, is I can find examples where this technology is already being demonstrated that it works. It's already been used on a few small remote islands to provide internet connectivity, direct to mobile phone from low Earth orbit satellites. So it's not some mad idea. The technology works, and in conjunction with something like this, we can provide Wi-Fi to a community cheaper than using a terminal unit such as Starlink uses. Yeah, lots of people don't like this idea. I think there's some resistance from the terrestrial suppliers. What I mean by that is their mobile phone services, internet services, where they have their cell towers and their cables and everything based on the Earth. Because they haven't got the technology. I think that's what it is. They're thinking, well, we don't want to promote that. That's not us. We're going to lose money. I think that's. I'd say I'm not knocking any particular solution. I mean, there's other solutions. There could be HAPS, high altitude platforms. Now, this is not ground based and it's not space based. It's not low Earth orbit. It's in between. High altitude balloons. These could help distribute the internet as well, and they have done it to a certain extent. So I think the solution to getting these 2.6 billion people connected is a combination of low Earth orbit direct to handset connectivity, low Earth orbit to terminal units such as Starlink, high altitude platforms where it's a bit like a satellite, but it's not in space. It's high up in the sky, so you can send signals up and broadcast them down over a wide area, increasing coverage. And also the traditional land-based, such cell towers providing mobile internet, and a combination of all really. What was I reading the other day? They're connecting up cell towers, what's called the backhaul, to connect it to the network via satellite, so they can put these towers in remote locations, which is another option. But I think this is the cheap way of doing it, and money is unfortunately something that comes into a lot of money comes into a lot of decisions in this world. Yeah, I don't know. Just personally, there's lots of money, and I've got no problem with money. I like money. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, buy stuff. But the inequality between those that have the money in the richer countries and those that don't have the money in poor countries, why can't we at least, give people enough to eat and give them internet connectivity? It might help them then, spur them on to, what's the word, improve their lives. We will know people you've given them everything and they don't do anything with it. But there's those really ambitious people that might at the moment be thinking, I need to move from my country to find a country where I can achieve more, which if they had access the tools to the internet could achieve this in their own country. There's brilliant minds out there. 2.6 billion people not even connected to the internet. That is ridiculous. Partly could be financial, partly because of remote location. Could be a refugee even moving about. If we could, I'll leave it for another time how we can fund all this. Actually, no, I won't. I'll do it now. Right. So imagine we've got our phone in there and we're connecting to it via this low Earth orbit satellite with direct to handset connectivity. Now, how are we going to pay for the connectivity? Because the satellite operators of his new direct to handset technology. There's actually two I can think of at the moment. There's AST Space Mobile and there's Link, that have his technology where the cell tower is effectively in the sky, in space. They're going to want to get paid. So we could pay them, maybe. I mean, here's some ideas out there. Firstly, in the same way that charities sponsor, we can pay for, maybe at Christmas you want to sponsor a goat for someone in the developing world. Well, why not that charity? You contribute to them and they purchase airtime, allowing internet connectivity. Or we could do this, secondly, maybe if we don't want to do it that way, at the United Nations level. They have their sustainable development goals. There's 15 of them. No, there's not. There's 17 of them announced in 2015 with an achievable, a date to be achieved by 2030. And we're halfway through. I think they said at the SDG Digital Conference on the 17th of September at the UN in New York, we've achieved 15%, even though we're halfway through the time period of the overall goals. So if the UN's got goals, couldn't we have a fund where richer countries contribute to a fund at the UN, and the UN set up what's basically called an MVNO, a mobile virtual network operator, a bit like a supermarket at the moment provides mobile phone calls and broadband. Sorry, not broadband, and 4G or 5G internet access on your phone. Your supermarket doesn't own the network. They're the MVNO, the mobile virtual network operator. So they're basically the middleman, middle person, taking the money and paying the network operator. So well, couldn't the UN do this? You know, why not? Or we do it through charities, like I said, like we have Sponsor a Child at the moment in a developing country for their education. We have sponsor, like animals to help farmers. You know the sort of thing. You've seen these appeals. Why can't they sponsor this? I just don't see why not. You could contribute, provide internet to a community, and we could do it cheaply. We could do it via Starlink. I mean, if we've got enough money in, and do it that way. Or if we're talking about a place we really want to keep costs down, I think this direct to handset technology via LEO satellite could do it cheaper. And we could use second-hand smartphones even in here. We could constantly charge, solar panel, smartphone, bit of electronics on top of a building. You can tether to that. Yeah. Right, this is Craig from Yes Way Communications in Lincoln. I hope that you found that useful. As I say, I don't really ever write a script. If I write a script, it will sound like yes, and the induction motor has 3 coils in the you get the idea. They sound very scripted, so I don't really bother with scripts. Some people watching my TEDx talk probably think he hasn't got a script, but that I actually did have a script for. I didn't actually use all of it. In fact, I added bits to it that I hadn't intended to. We'll see what they managed to come up with when it goes through the edit. But that's the gist of it. This direct-to handset technology is one way we can provide cheap internet access in conjunction with something like this. This is Craig from Yes Way Communications, Craig Miles. Thanks for listening. I'm going to stop recording now. Take care.